Dzień dobry. Hello, this was meant to be Polish for a very good day to you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to speak at this prestigious gathering organized by the Polish Automotive Industry Association at this critical juncture for our industry's transformation. And I'm sorry that I cannot be with you in person today. Let me start by saying that excellent cooperation with national automotive associations is of utmost importance to ACEA, especially at a time when our industry is facing so many challenges. Regular contact, facilitating dialogue and understanding across borders, cultures and generations is especially important when pressure is high and divisions loom. Fundamentally, our work is people business. Our industry makes great products to keep society mobile. And as associations, we work to drive solutions for the challenges that concern us all: our climate, our health, our livelihoods, our children and their children's children. So we're grateful that we can rely on PZPM as we jointly tackle these challenges. And I'm also glad to say that we're very good friends. In my remarks today, I would like to zoom in on just some of the major topics concerning our industry today. These are our economic environment, the controversial Euro 7 proposal, and export requirements for electric vehicles. Firstly, let's start with some positive industry data. The latest ACEA numbers suggest that our sector is on a gradual but steady rebound. Data from the first quarter of 2023 shows that the EU passenger car market grew by around 18%. We are witnessing similar growth for trucks, with vans and buses posting more modest growth. However, car sales are still down by almost a quarter compared to the pre-COVID period in 2019. And despite these positive trends in sales, the European auto industry faces growing competitive pressures abroad and mounting regulatory challenges at home. In 2022, 11 million vehicles were sold in the EU. At first glance, you might consider this a large number, yet when we look at the 82 million vehicles sold globally last year, just over a mere 13% are sold in the EU, and that's down from almost 23% in 2021. For electric cars, 6 to 7 million were sold in China compared to just 1 million in the EU. And as you can see, the EU is falling behind other global regions. And in this very context, the US has introduced its ambitious Inflation Reduction Act. China, too, has a practice of massive support schemes for industry, including the automotive sector. Now, you'd ask, what is the EU's response to these challenges? Well, while the Critical Raw Materials and Net Zero Industry Acts are certainly a move in the right direction, the EU's overall answer remains very much more regulation. Take the case of the current Euro 7 pollutant emissions proposal. We are committed to the EU's goal of reducing road transport emissions, but we believe that Euro 7 in its current form is not the right way to do this. Not in terms of health and environmental benefits, and not in terms of the global competitiveness of our sector. Indeed, as a recent study reveals, direct Euro 7 costs are 4 to 10 times higher than those in the European Commission's impact assessment. Euro 7 would add a massive €2,000 direct costs for cars and vans and almost 12,000 for diesel trucks and buses. Second, while regulation for tire and brake emissions does make future sense, only a mere 10% of combustion engine cars on EU roads are set to fall under Euro 7 rules in 2035. In effect, road transport NOx emissions would be reduced by a tiny 2 to 4%, whereas Euro 6, together with electrification, can reduce NOx emissions by a huge 80% by 2035 compared to 2020. Ironically, Euro 6 is a real success story of highly advanced exhaust emission technology delivering real-life results, whereas Euro 7, as proposed, could well have a counterproductive effect, actually discouraging consumers from replacing older, more polluting models with greener, more efficient ones and undermining the auto industry's ability to invest and to compete. Our message to EU policymakers is rather simple. Don't fix something if it's not broken. Let me now turn to another example of regulation causing concern for auto manufacturers and their future investment in Europe. The current transitional rules of origin in the EU-UK trade agreement, agreed after Brexit, are set to come to an end in less than 6 months, meaning new restrictive rules for vehicle batteries exports come into force. Now, what does this mean for the EU auto industry? From January onwards, all battery parts, as well as some critical battery material, must be produced in either the EU or the UK to qualify for tariff-free trade. Yet it's completely unrealistic to expect the auto industry to comply with these requirements that soon already. It's well known that our sector currently still relies heavily on battery cells or materials imported from Asia. Indeed, huge investments have been made in building up a European battery supply chain. But reaching the capacity that we need for tariff-free trade does take time. Here, our request to EU policymakers is also simple. We call for an extension of the current transitional regime until the end of 2026, when the final agreement will enter into force. In the face of inaction, a 10% tariff on electric vehicles would cost €4.3 billion and cut EU electric vehicle production by up to 480,000 units. And that's the equivalent output of 2 average-sized factories. And with its immediate access to raw materials, China would be the big winner in the UK market, the #1 export destination for Europe's industry. Yet again, this is an example of counterproductive obstacles to the industry's competitiveness in a crucial phase of the transition to electric vehicles. To conclude, the European automotive industry is undergoing an unprecedented transition. I could have given you many other examples of major developments unfolding. Just think, for example, of our commercial vehicle manufacturers rolling out electrified trucks and buses as we speak, despite the grave concerns about a lack of charging and refueling infrastructure to make the transition work. But in short, the good news is that the technologies and the vehicles are here to deliver. What Europe needs is an ambitious EU investment framework backed up by coherent policies. Policies that boost industrial competitiveness and that make the transition possible and affordable for people and businesses, so automakers can continue delivering and continue being the European success story we are in all corners of Europe. The EU must really exceed the determination of other global players to ensure a greener, smarter and more competitive industry in Europe. ACEA and our friends in Poland will continue pushing ahead on the journey towards zero-emission transport. In fact, we hope we can rely on all of your support to jointly tackle the challenges ahead. Together, let's shape the future. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.
ACEA, driving mobility for Europe.